To comprehend the profound clinical transformation that occurs when you systematically introduce a concentrated aqueous extraction of Rosmarinus officinalis and Syzygium aromaticum into your daily morning routine, one must discard the notion of these elements as mere culinary garnishes. In the realm of phytochemistry, this precise combination constitutes a highly aggressive, multi-targeted pharmacological intervention against the foundational mechanics of chronic joint degeneration. For individuals navigating their 5th, 6th, and 7th decades, joint pain is rarely a simple mechanical issue of bone-on-bone friction. It is, almost universally, a state of chronic, entrenched immunological warfare occurring within the microscopic architecture of the joint capsule. The synovial membrane, which encloses the joint and produces the lubricating synovial fluid, becomes perpetually inflamed, a condition known as synovitis. The immune system, misidentifying damaged cartilage fragments as foreign invaders, constantly dispatches an army of pro-inflammatory cytokines, specifically tumor necrosis factor alpha and interleukin-1 beta. These cytokines act as biological wrecking balls. They stimulate the production of enzymes called matrix metalloproteinases, which literally digest and dissolve your type 2 collagen, and the proteoglycan matrix of your cartilage. This relentless internal chemical fire is the true driver of the swelling and the heat, and the agonizing morning stiffness that characterizes osteoarthritis and rheumatoid conditions. To halt this degradation, the inflammatory cascade must be chemically intercepted, which is precisely the physiological mandate executed by this botanical infusion. The vanguard of this intervention is the clove, a small dried flower bud that serves as one of the most concentrated sources of antioxidants. It possesses an ORAC value that dwarfs almost any other botanical substance on the planet. The absolute apex of the clove's medicinal profile is a volatile phenolic compound known as Eugenol. In dentistry, Eugenol has been utilized for over a century for its profound analgesic and local anesthetic properties. However, when ingested systematically through a morning infusion, Eugenol acts as a master regulator of systemic inflammation. Its mechanism is incredibly specific. Eugenol actively inhibits the cyclooxygenase 2, COX2 enzyme, and the lipoxygenase, LOX pathways. These are the exact pathways that pharmaceutical NSAIDs like ibuprofen or celecoxib target to suppress the production of prostaglandins and leukotrienes. Prostaglandins are the primary chemical messengers that transmit pain signals to the brain and cause localized swelling. By downregulating these enzymes, the daily influx of eugenol from the clove infusion chemically dampens the pain response at the cellular level. Unlike synthetic NSAIDs, which notoriously erode the protective mucosal lining of the stomach and can lead to gastrointestinal bleeding, Eugenol exerts anti-inflammatory effects while exhibiting gastroprotective properties, making it a sustainable long-term intervention for aging physiology. Operating in perfect biochemical synergy with the eugenol is the profound therapeutic payload delivered by the rosemary. The dominant active constituent extracted from the rosemary leaves is rosmarinic acid, a caffeic acid ester that functions as a devastatingly effective scavenger of reactive oxygen species. In an inflamed arthritic joint, the presence of free radicals is overwhelming. These unstable molecules relentlessly oxidize the lipids in cell membranes and fracture the DNA of the chondrocytes, the specialized cells responsible for maintaining the cartilage matrix. Rosmarinic acid crosses the synovial barrier and enters the joint space, where it neutralizes these free radicals before they can execute their destructive oxidative damage. Furthermore, rosmarinic acid specifically inhibits the activation of the complement system, a complex cascade of immune proteins that, when overactive, violently attacks the synovial tissues. By chemically binding to these proteins and neutralizing their activity, the rosemary extract forces the overactive immune system to stand down, stopping the internal, friendly fire that is dissolving the joint. Beyond the direct suppression of the inflammatory and oxidative cascades, this morning infusion initiates a critical mechanical rescue mission concerning the microcirculation surrounding the joints. Articular cartilage is unique in human anatomy because it is avascular. It possesses 0 blood vessels of its own. It relies entirely on a process of diffusion to receive oxygen and nutrients from the surrounding synovial fluid and the subchondral bone. If the microcapillary network surrounding the joint capsule is constricted, sluggish, or choked by inflammation, a common reality in older adults, the cartilage is essentially suffocated. It cannot repair microtears because the raw materials never arrive. Rosemary is a potent natural vasodilator and circulatory stimulant. The volatile oils within the herb, particularly camphor and cineole, act upon the smooth muscle lining the peripheral blood vessels, causing them to relax and expand. As you consume the warm infusion in the morning, this vasodilatory effect forces a surge of fresh, highly oxygenated arterial blood deep into the fascial planes and capillary beds surrounding the knees, hips, and hands. This localized hyperemic response delivers a massive influx of the precise nutrients required for chondrocyte metabolism, while simultaneously flushing out the accumulated metabolic waste products, specifically the lactic acid and dead cellular debris, that create the heavy, aching sensation in arthritic limbs. When this highly specific, dual-action intervention, the COX-2 inhibition from the cloves, and the circulatory antioxidant rescue from the rosemary, is maintained, with absolute consistency over a continuous 30-day cycle, the internal landscape of the musculoskeletal system is fundamentally reorganized. During the first 10 days of the protocol, the most clinically apparent shift occurs in the realm of morning mobility. The severe gelling phenomenon, the excruciating stiffness experienced upon waking that requires 30 minutes of painful movement to resolve, begins to evaporate. This is the direct result of the eugenol actively suppressing the overnight accumulation of inflammatory prostaglandins within the synovial fluid. The joint capsules, no longer engorged with pressurized inflammatory exudate, regain their mechanical compliance. You are no longer forcing a swollen, pressurized hinge to bend. The joint moves with restored, frictionless ease. As the protocol crosses the 20-day threshold, the deeper structural benefits of the rosmarinic acid become systemic. The chronic, systemic inflammation that typically drives joint degradation begins to cool. This shift is often clinically measurable by a significant reduction in the erythrocyte sedimentation rate and C-reactive protein in blood panels, because the chondrocytes are no longer under constant oxidative attack, and because the improved microcirculation is delivering a steady supply of oxygen. The cartilage cells can finally shift from a state of desperate defense into a state of active maintenance. The synovial membrane, relieved of its inflammatory burden, begins to synthesize a higher quality of synovial fluid, rich in hyaluronic acid. This restores the thick, viscous, shock-absorbing properties of the joint fluid, providing a dense, biological cushion. This cushion prevents the agonizing friction of bone rubbing against bone, ensuring smooth and painless movement. By day 30, the biological foundation for long-term mobility is firmly established through this deep biochemical restoration. To execute this therapeutic protocol effectively, the preparation methodology must be exact to ensure the complete extraction of the volatile oils. The intervention requires 1 tablespoon of dried, high-quality rosemary leaves and precisely 5 whole cloves. These must not be boiled violently, as aggressive heat will instantly vaporize the delicate essential oils, specifically the eugenol, rendering the infusion pharmacologically inert. Instead, the rosemary and cloves must be placed in a vessel, and 12 ounces of water should be poured over them. The water should have been brought to a boil and allowed to cool slightly to approximately 200 degrees Fahrenheit. The vessel must be immediately covered with a tight-fitting lid. This is non-negotiable. The lid traps the volatile oils as they evaporate, this forcing them to condense and drip back into the liquid. The infusion must steep for a minimum of 15 minutes. This allows for the complete diffusion of the rosmarinic acid and the breakdown of the dense clove matrix. The resulting amber liquid must be consumed on an empty stomach, first thing in the morning. Taking this infusion in a fasted state ensures that the polyphenols and active compounds are rapidly absorbed through the gastric mucosa. The compounds enter the portal vein without being bound or delayed by complex food matrices. To view the daily consumption of this rosemary and clove infusion as a mere folk remedy is to severely underestimate the sophisticated, multi-targeted biochemical warfare it wages within the human body. By committing to this morning ritual, you are deploying a precise, concentrated dose of natural COX-2 inhibitors to silence the enzymatic pathways of pain. You are introducing master antioxidants to shield your cartilage from oxidative dissolution, and you are actively forcing open the microscopic vascular networks to deliver life-sustaining oxygen to your most vulnerable, avascular tissues. It is a profound exercise in functional botanical medicine. It proves that the relentless progression of joint decay is not an inescapable sentence of aging, but a biological process that can be actively intercepted, mitigated, and reversed. Through the strategic, daily application of the precise phytochemical tools required to extinguish the internal fires of chronic inflammation and restore the mechanical grace of the human skeletal system.